What's up, guys? This is Boondocks, and today I want to talk about the Pseudo rework that came out for Nekros in Update 2.1 of the overall Update 19, and it's really badass. Now, the reason I call it a Pseudo update is the fact that he's didn't really have his abilities changed, just how they function is a little bit different. Now, I used to always think Nekros was kind of a boring character because you typically only played him when you wanted the extra drops in order to farm for whatever materials you needed. And while that was really good and he was excellent at it, it was just boring. And the main reason being that Desecrate used to be spammed. Now, Desecrate used to have a chance at dropping health orbs that would scale off of your power strength, and then you would have to constantly keep casting it, and any enemies that died within range when you cast Desecrate, their bodies would then have a 54% chance at dropping extra loot. Now they still keep that 54% chance of dropping extra loot, but they lose that scaling off of your power strength portion for health orbs. Instead, the health orbs are just kind of lumped in with the extra loot, and believe me, after playing for a little bit, you're still going to have more than enough extra health just floating around to keep you and your teammate alive. But the major change that they did, instead of the ability costing per cast, instead they made it a toggled ability where whenever an enemy dies within your range, it'll then consume 10 energy to cause them to have that 54% chance of dropping extra loot. Now, this is amazing because you no longer have to sit there and constantly just spam this ability over and over again with natural talent equipped, so that way you'd have slower or faster cast time. Slower delay is what I meant to say. Instead, now you just press this once, and any enemies that die near you are going to have that chance of dropping extra loot, which means instead of spamming Desecrate over and over again, you can actually sit there and fight and help your team, and that makes you so much better as a support character. Not to mention, instead of in a normal mission having to go through, kill a whole group of enemies, then cast Desecrate before their bodies disappeared, now as you're fighting, the enemies are going to be dropping that extra loot, and you're not going to have to stop and cast Desecrate every couple seconds. With that being said, your loot drop chance will not increase off of power strength, but your power range will, of course, increase off of your overall power range, and your energy per enemy body desecrated will decrease with your power efficiency. So for instance, I have a decent amount of power efficiency on here, reducing it to 4 energy per body desecrated instead of 10. The other ability that he had changed is Shadows of the Dead. Shadows of the Dead, the number of enemies you used to be able to summon was based off of your power strength. And then they would die after X amount of time, and you would have to recast it to resummon them. However, now you can only summon a maximum of 7, which sounds kind of like a major nerf, but they've also changed how they operate a whole lot more. So before Shadows of the Dead, you used to summon the last group of enemies you killed. So if you killed a bunch of really powerful enemies at the beginning of a map, and then killed a bunch of weak ones, and then cast Shadows of the Dead, you would summon more of the weak ones than the powerful ones. Instead, now Shadows of the Dead will always prioritize the strongest enemies you've killed throughout the mission, and because of that, your army can become pretty damn powerful as time goes on, and you start killing like those really powerful Xmas heavy gunners or bombards, whatever it might be. Not to mention, they're now going to suffer a health decay, and basically you can just recast it to heal up all those targets you've had, as well as teleport them to you. Not to mention, your army will now have an increased taunt chance. This synergizes really well with Terrify, because now you can actually kind of act like a defense for, defense missions, as well as protecting you and your team. So when you have the Shadows of the Dead with taunt, as well as the Terrify to keep you and your party or defense target alive, you can survive for much, much longer amounts of time. Now power strength will only affect with Shadows of the Dead their damage multiplier and then their health and shield multipliers. So increasing your power strength will increase your amount of tankiness on your army, as well as reduce the amount of times that you need to constantly spam them. Additionally, your power duration will affect your health decay per second. So with that in mind, you kind of need to find a little bit of a balance. Right now, because I don't have enough Forma on Nekros, because I used to hate playing him, I don't really have the best build, which as you can see, my health decay per second is 2.65 health, and I'm not getting that big of a multiplier or damage multiplier because I don't have any power strength on. In fact, it's only at 40. But as you can see, my energy drain and my power range for my Desecrate is pretty considerable. So I'm getting so many more drops. And a prime example of this, if I just pull up my last mission results, look how many friggin' nanospores I got. And this was after, I think, like 10 or 15 waves of fighting infested. I got over 11,000 nanospores without having to spam anything at all. And that is amazing because it meant that I was actually able to play the game that I love while getting the benefit. And this is really good for like your mid-tier players that are looking for these extra drops like Nerodes and Plastids in order to build some of those harder to acquire weapons and warframes that require a lot of extra material. Now, once you're in the end game, there's still probably better choices that you can get when you're not looking for the materials, such as Ember, just because of her killing power for the level 40 to 60 enemies, and I would definitely focus on that overall. But if you're looking for the drops, definitely go with Nekros now because you can play the game while getting those bonus drops. So until next time, guys, like, comment, subscribe, and peace.